Okay, welcome back. Let's do logo 2, which I called the abstract logo. It is, as you can see, a diamond shape with a circle on either side and then a gray bar behind the whole situation. You can choose whatever colors you want. I'm going to do something vaguely like the colors in the color version of it, but I don't actually remember that well, so it is what it is. All right, so let's start with the square tool. So that's keyboard shortcut 4. Nowhere for real, guys. 4. Oh, it doesn't think I'm in Vectorworks. Now we're talking. All right. So now I've picked up my square tool. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the rounded rectangle, which is hold shift so that my square, ooh, it wants to make it the same size. So that my square instead of being a random rectangular situation, I want a square as my starting point. Great. Okay. So now the next thing I'm wanting to do is to turn this into a diamond shape, and I'm going to use the rotate tool. The rotate tool is kind of weird. It's over here on the side. Option equals is your keyboard shortcut to pick that tool up. I usually just click on it. It looks like a round protractor situation. The way that this tool works is a little bit strange. So your first click is going to set the rotation point. And then your second click creates a handle by which you would rotate the object, okay? So that'll take a little getting used to. It doesn't make intuitive sense, but it is the life we lead. So I'm going to just hit escape to get back out of that selection. You do have to have an object selected in order for the rotate tool to work. So if I had not just drawn this rectangle and I wanted to try and rotate it, it wouldn't let me. But if I look down in the bottom corner as I try and do that with the rotate tool, there's going to be a little red warning that's like, use the command key to select an object. And okay, I will. Hold down command. Now I have the object that I want to rotate and my rotate tool. So the handle I'm going to choose is the center point. So I'm going to click right on that center point. And then I can choose either the top right or the top left. Let's do the top left. I think it was the top right on the other one. So another thing that's going to happen, right, is that there are these vertical and horizontal snaps available to you, okay? They are options in your snapping tools, and if you wanted to turn them off, you could accidentally do that. So I'll look at snaps with you at some point. But for now, what I would say is this is another case when you can hold your shift key in order to force something to snap where you want it. So if I hold my shift key, I'm only going to get perfect vertical and horizontal snapping out of this deal. So if I don't, I can rotate it to any weird angle. If I hold shift though, it's going to be like, you want to be vertical? You want to be horizontal? Those are your choices. Them's the deal. So I'm going to go ahead and go to vertical and then I'm going to click. That's going to lock in the rotation. So now here we are. We had our rectangle. It's now locked vertically. Great. Okay, cool. I'm going to hit the X key. That brings me back to my selection tool. Now that we have our square rotated into the diamond configuration, we're going to use the Reshape tool to stretch these points out. Okay. There are two operations in the standard selection tool mode. So one would be this little crosshairs that moves the object around. The other one is the double arrows. The double arrows are just going to increase or decrease the size while maintaining proportion. Okay. What we want to do is actually change the proportion. We want to move this point up higher and this point down lower so that it becomes a diamond. And in order to get to that, I want to use the Reshape tool. I can either click here on the Reshape tool itself, or I can double click on the diamond. When I double click on this diamond shape, that will engage the Reshape tool. Then I want to make sure I have this Move Polygon Handles mode engaged, okay? And that will allow me to pick up this corner, click and drag vertically to sort of stretch out the top, and then I can click and drag to stretch out the bottom. So now I have a diamond shape that's a little bit elongated and not quite so square, right? So that's a great step. Next thing I want to do is do that circle that'll end up behind the diamond, okay? So I'll go over here and grab my circle tool, or I can just press 6, right? I'm going to use the center to center my circle I'm drawing, and I'm going to go just past the diamond, okay? So it's just a little bit past the diamond. Great. So next, I want to clip surface again, right? The same idea as I did with that Instagram logo where I clipped out the center point. I'm going to clip the surface so that I get these two little C-shaped Pac-Man, open-mouthed Pac-Man on either side. The situation is I am now sitting with a circle on top of my diamond, which means if I went to clip surface right now, I would not get a diamond with two Pac-Man. I would get a giant circle with two little pointy bits. So instead, I want to bring that diamond to the front, right? This is your standard stacking that you would do in like any other software where you're worried about layer stacking of objects, like you do this in Word. And so that's all in your Modify menu under Send. So if I go up to Modify and I go to Send, I have options to send to front, send forward, send to back, or send backward. In this case, it would be send to back, and that's Command B, right? So Command B will send an object to the back, Command F will bring it to the front, Command B sends it to the back. That's where I want it to be. Great. Now, if I were to click again to like go to select this, I would actually be drawing another circle. So I have to hit the X key. That brings me back into my selection tool, my pointer. So now I can select these two things and go to Modify, Clip Surface. Great. So now I've got a diamond in the center. I've got two little Pac-Men on either side. And the next thing I want to do is give that little bit of space, right, on either side of the diamond for the little Pac-Men. And you can pick things up and drag them, for sure. But that's not going to be as precise as moving using the move command a specific distance. So then you can repeat it in the opposite direction for the other one. So I'm going to Command Z. Let's go back. And then I'm going to use Command M, which is the move selection or move tool command. X and Y in your Cartesian coordinates are the same as on your X and your Y axis in geometry class. So if you want to move something in the X direction, that's left to right. If you want to move something in the Y direction, you're talking vertical, up or down, and that's relative to your screen, okay? Almost all of the drafting we do, you'll think about X and Y relative to the screen plane, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But your X offset is going to be how far X of where I am now would I move this object. Let's see what a foot does. Yeah, I like that. I think that works, okay? So now with this guy, I want to move it a foot, but I want to go the opposite way. So in this case, I would do -1 foot and move it the other direction. Great, okay. So now I have these two guys, moved them away. I'm gonna go ahead and draw the rectangle that's going to sit behind all of this, and then I'll do some adjustments with lines and fills. So let's go ahead and draw a rectangle, right? And I'm going to not make it perfectly centered or anything. I'm just going to draw it. So that's my rectangle. If I want it to center up, I can grab it with the crosshairs, right, from its center point and snap that to the center point of these other objects, right, of this diamond. And then I can send it to the back, Command B, in order to set it behind everything else. The last thing I'm going to do is change up the color and do a couple of different things on the different pieces, okay? So for this guy, it has no outline, so I want to change the pen to none, and then I can change the color to like gray. Okay, so now that kind of matches what I had going on there. With my diamond, I wanted a heavier outline on it and a yellow color in the center. So first I'll change the fill, which is up here, and I'm not seeing the color I want, so I can do a couple of things. I can either go like classic or standard Vectorworks colors, or I can pick a color off a color wheel by clicking on this button and choose anything I want. If I wanted like that yellow, or this yellow is kind of nice from some show I did recently, so I'll take that for now. Click OK. So now that is the fill. And then on the outside, I want to just increase the size of that line. So I'm going to use a heavier line weight. I don't need to go crazy, but I could do like 1 point, right? That's much heavier than the line weight I had before. For these guys, similar idea, right? Maybe I'll increase their line weight, like not quite as much as that heavier yellow line. And then I'm gonna turn this kind of a dark blue. I don't know. Let's try something like that. Okay. So that is roughly the same as the logo that I had. It looks like I've gone a little wider with my outside band, with my gray band, than I did on my initial one, but this will work fine for the purposes of this class. And you can choose whatever colors you want. As long as you show me you can do some different line weights and some different color fills, we're good to go. All right, so now I'm going to select all of that business. That's the second logo. I'm going to Command G, group that together, and then I'll go draw logo number 3.